Well, let's start by recapping, obviously, this past year. I thought that, you get a chance to get away from it a little bit. That gives you a chance to be a little bit more objective and kind of take emotion out of it. We've had a chance to, watch some of the film, meet with some of the guys. We haven't quite completed our end-of-year meetings yet with all of our players. We're in the process of doing that. We've got about 2/3 of them done. That's been really good. You learn as much from those, listening to them and talking to them as you do in terms of sharing things with them, which also I think that's beneficial for our guys in terms of, hey, where do we go from here? How do we get better? All those different things. I felt like it was an odd year. We ended up getting at the end of the day kind of to the same place we did in year one, in that, we were playing our best basketball in February and March. I think that's, you look at statistics. I watch game film. I watch for the intangibles, for chemistry, for those type of things. And clearly, it wasn't even close that we were playing our best basketball in February and March. I thought we did that the previous year as well. We got there in a little bit different way, by getting off, certainly from a record standpoint, to, a great start. And then we hit a lull there in the middle. And then, our guys continued to grind and work. I give them a lot of credit for that. I don't know, certainly in the league that we're in, coaching against the coaches we coach against, playing against the guys our guys play against, our league is really challenging for our guys to take that disposition and continue to fight. We talked about that a lot with you guys, and play the way they did at the end, I think speaks volumes of their character, of who they are. It gets me even more excited to, work with them. Obviously, we've got a great deal back. We had some guys sitting out. We got 2 new guys moving in this summer to continue to work with them and build on the momentum that we've had from year one and year two. Certainly going to have more depth. Competition's at a premium. We've talked a lot about that with our guys. The concept of sacrificing, I think, becomes huge when you have that depth that we're going to have as long as the Lord blesses us with health heading into the year 3. So, right now our guys are working out 2 hours a week is what we get with them. We're doing a little bit of position group work, a little bit of mixed groups, a little bit of one-on-ones. They're lifting, doing a little bit of conditioning. They start playing a little bit this week. We normally take 2 weeks off when the season's over to let their bodies get refreshed. But, we gave them 1 week off. So I became Uncle Scrooge a little bit and brought him back a week earlier than normal. We were all dying to get back to work. Hopefully the motivation from not only how well we played late, but how a couple of the games ended late, I think you kind of gotten guys crawl a little bit, which is good, and motivates them for the offseason. So, workouts have been good so far last week and this week. Guys have been great and very receptive to getting better, and I think they're very, very, very excited about moving forward as we are as a staff as well. So, once we get through the spring semester here, they'll go home for, what is it, Derek, 2.5 weeks or something like that, or 3. Before they come back in June, we'll have 8 weeks with them this summer, in which we're able to work them out again 2 hours a week. Then they'll go home for a little bit more, another 2 or 3 week break. And then before you know it, school starts August 20-something, and we're, back at it again for a couple hours a week. And then practice, I believe the date this year is October 3rd. This past year it was September 27th. So, again, it's going to start early again, and it comes fast. I always tell them that, winter always ask, what did you do last spring, summer, and fall? And, we're really taking that to heart and feel like we've got to improve and with some skill level stuff and offensively and some different things that we're looking at. So, it's an exciting time when you get a chance to evaluate, I think, hit the reset button a little bit and try to wrinkle some things here and there and try to get better. I mean, that's really what we're about, not only individually, but collectively. Questions?
I think a lot of people are going to be interested in the 3 guys that sat out.
Yeah, sure.
In terms of Ahmad, Darius, and Aaron, what kind of sit-out years did they have?
Yeah, well, the unique thing is the first time we did it starting about mid-January, Matt, we decided that we were going to have a scout team that was going to imitate the other team's offense. Now, we always walk through and we'll have guys running through. Most of the time they're managers, and certainly no disrespect to our managers. We have some of the best in the country, but they're not quite as talented as Ahmad and Darius and Kaz. So we put those guys together. Different guys played with those three guys depending on the week and who we're trying to imitate. I thought it really was a breath of fresh air for those guys because they took it seriously and they competed and tried to imitate, the teams we were playing from about mid-January on. I thought it made it more game-like for them, so it gave us a chance to evaluate them more. I thought it made it more fun for them. Practice were competitive. They were chippy, and I thought that was really good. I thought all three guys really excelled during that particular time frame from really mid-January on and did some really good things. But obviously I think the thing that stands out the most is the three collective guys' ability to score. They can score. All three of them are double-figure scorers in their careers. They have a knack for scoring the basketball, and two of them in particular are, you look at statistics, they're really good shooting the basketball as well as scoring it. So, I think those additions to what we have returning, I think are going to be very much welcomed. I thought at times that, we struggled to score and needed more consistency with that, and the same thing with shooting. So I think they're going to add, certainly to that. They add an experience level. I think the biggest noticeable difference, though, on all three of them is how their bodies look. I mean, they pulled off, the Ray Rice deal, and, they look pretty physically and imposing. They've worked really hard at it. They've had a different lifting regimen than the rest of the guys, obviously, because they weren't in season like the other guys who were playing. So I thought they really benefited from that. Guys have added weight. They've added strength. Their numbers are up in that area in strength and conditioning, and I think that's a, really noticeable difference. I think they've done a great job with their bodies as well as the basketball part of things.
What does full depth mean for you in particular, and will next year's team be able to play more like the style you want to play?
Yeah, no question, Jim. I mean, I think it's going to allow us to be more aggressive. It's going to allow us to, be a little bit more philosophically like we were the third and fourth year at Ohio, where we were playing 8 to 10 guys every night, 9 or 10 guys every night. It allows you to be aggressive in some defensive situations, a little bit more on inbound situations, which I like. It allows you to run with more pace consistently throughout the course of, 35 to 40 games. I thought that, our year one team here just happened to be more equipped to do that even than the year two team, to be honest. And, so we have not quite hit that area like we want to, but I felt like the way we played gave us the best chance to take our year two team as far as it could go, make it as competitive as possible. Certainly long-term with more depth, I think it's going to allow us to be more aggressive offensively with pace, and it's going to allow us to be more aggressive defensively. And I think those are two things that, really from jump that we've wanted to do. And, again, if we get blessed with health, I think we'll have an opportunity to do that more.
What is Ahmad? You've talked about Ahmad as a shooter. What does he add as a point guard, and how can that help Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, I think, both of them, obviously Tracy's, wired to score and has learned the position and continued to get better at the position. Ahmad is gotten better as well. He shoots the ball, obviously, really, really well. It's a different style we're playing than what he played at Oregon State. That doesn't mean it's more right or wrong, but they played more of the Princeton offense. So I think his assist numbers there aren't indicative of his ability to make others better, maybe as much as it will be in our system. And I think he's going to have the ability to do both. It's really a matter of getting in the lane and making the right decision. And we're going to need both those guys to do that.
In regards to your freshmen, you played two guys in particular a lot. What kind of jump are you looking for those guys?
Yeah, strength first. You're talking about the freshmen. I think, obviously Coach Bass had those guys, Marcus, for the summer and the fall. He hasn't had them for a full year. So we're really looking to start with our young guys, body transformation. We want, more muscular definition, more guys cardiovascular-wise, being better, being able to play harder, longer, weight for some guys, obviously the right kind of weight, but I think body transformation is really where it starts with those guys. And then each of them individually have kind of been given things that, we want them to get better at from a skill perspective that might be more individually specific. But I think as a group, it really starts and stops with the strength and conditioning part of things.
Is your roster settled yet, or is there still possibility of changes in your roster that you have now?
Well, right now, obviously, we're working everybody out. Everybody's working really, really hard. We got all guys that return working out with our skill stuff, Lauren. If you're asking me, are we continuing to recruit every day, 12 months a year, 365 days a year?
I guess what you said, you're 2/3 done talking to your players.
Yeah.
Usually, if anything's going to happen, that's when you find out about it normally.
And you're talking about end of year stuff? Yeah, we're still going through that process, meeting with them. They're coming in. I'm asking them to share some ideas about our program as well. I think feedback's got to be two-way feedback. We're giving them feedback on what we see and what they need to improve upon as people, students, and players. And then they're giving us feedback on, hey, I want them to evaluate how they think the strength and conditioning program operates. What do you think of our skill development program? How can we get better there? Anything we can do better with nutrition? How about academics? Like, I'm asking them for feedback too. It's their program. I don't want it to be one-way feedback. I want it to be two-way feedback. We've not completed that yet. We're about, like I said, about 2/3 of the way through. I'm very much a guy that really believes in end-of-year evaluation and making sure everybody's on the same page. We talk all the time that, we speak to one another with love, but in truth. So it's really good to get that interaction, and we'll have a chance to complete that here over the next, probably week or so, week to 10 days. We'll have all of that completed.
The reason I brought it up is the last 2 years you've brought in fifth-year guys, and I saw a couple fifth-year guys go to Ohio State and
Sure.
moved last week. Is that still is that possible to be in the process?
Well, a lot of that's happening right now, obviously, in college basketball. You follow, you look. I mean, there's a ton of transfers. I mean, it comes, pops across everybody's phone, every hour. I don't know if that's great for the game, but it is what it is. It's the current climate we live in. So we're always aware. Our assistant coaches' jobs is to be aware of what's going on in recruiting in every facet, whether it's fifth years, fourth years, high school, junior college. I mean, that's their job. And, like I said, we're recruiting every single day, 365 days a year. We talk almost every morning about our team and about our recruiting. So it's a work in progress every day. I think as soon as you stop recruiting, I've said this before, it's like, maybe for other people, not me, because I don't grow facial hair real fast, but it's like not shaving for months. Then you start looking like Werner over here. So you got to do it every day. So we're aware of the landscape. We're continuing to evaluate our team and have the meetings, but at the end of the day, that's not complete yet. We got to finish our end of year eval stuff here.
How about your three seniors coming back? What's the biggest part of their games you want?
Yeah. Well, with Tracy, I would say, the biggest thing is continuing to make others better. We've talked to him a lot about that. And then I think the other thing is shooting. He'd like to see his shooting percentages both from 2 and 3 be more efficient. And I know he's going to work really hard at that. With Nana, he's got about the right weight on him. We addressed that issue last year when he went well beyond 250. I just think continuing to hone his skill level, whether it's in the low and long post, shooting. I don't want to neglect his shooting. I thought last year we worked so hard on some of the other things. One of the best things he does, Jeremy, for his size, he can shoot the ball. We need to probably get more of that with some of our workouts with him. We've talked about that. Trying to think, Ray, probably mid-range a little bit. Ray had a good finish game. Ray got better shooting the ball from deep. But I think continuing to work that area, I think will be important for him. Ahmad just continuing to grow in our system. When Ahmad didn't receive the waiver, I mean, all of us were disappointed. But now that year 2's over and we're through year 2, I'm awful glad we have him for year 3. I think it makes our team have more depth, more weapons, more balance. So he's learning the system, and I thought the year sit out did him a lot of good. In fact, I think personally he'll be a better player having done that than he would have if he'd have played right away. Because he's going to be more acclimated, used to terminology, picks up things quicker, has been through some time practicing with us, knows what that's like, knows the game day routine. I just think he'll be more comfortable and thus leading to him being, I think, more successful, and then that helps our team.
What do you want to see from your bigs during the offseason to help Nana out?
Stronger. I want him to get physically stronger, bigger, stronger. I think that's important. Obviously we're adding, two guys that play, the forward and front court a little bit for us in Black and Finke, which will be good. But I think body transformation, overhaul, I talked about that with the young guys when I was talking to Marcus earlier regarding his question. I think Maverick's got such a great frame and hands, and, we've got all kinds of, you go through all those guys. I think Darius conditioning. I think Austin is weight. I think Maverick is a skill level and getting a move. I want him to have a go-to move down there. I want him to be more aggressive down there when he catches the ball in the paint. But it's going to take work. And I told those guys, I said, fellas, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Like, they give us 2 hours a week, and believe me, we're going to max out all the 2 hours. That's not enough. You better be getting in the gym outside those 2 hours. People that are great at what they do don't become an expert by doing it for 2 hours a week. You got to come in and you got to do more on your own. So, we've seen some of that over the 2 years with some of our guys. I'm hoping our team will really embrace that and do more extra and above and beyond what we give them, because I think that's what's going to take for us to get better.
I know there were times this year where you guys struggled shooting the ball. What's the potential of how much better the team could be shooting from three or from distance next year?
Well, I think significantly better. I mean, it's not even really a subjective opinion. I mean, you're talking about adding two guys that have shot over 40% from three. You're talking about a guy that's the all-time leader at his previous institution and makes and percentage from three. I mean, you're adding a couple guys that have the capability on a given night. They can make 3, 4, 5 threes individually. I mean, so I don't even think I think it's objective probably, as long as those guys are healthy, to expect that our shooting will be significantly better. In addition to that, I think the guys that are working in the offseason will become better shooters. Guys have always historically done that. Jamal and Dustin and Paris do an unbelievable job working with those guys. So I fully expect those guys that return to improve as well.
I think he's a 4-3 guy, 3-4. Where do you see him fitting in position-wise or is it too early to determine that?
Well, eventually, Marcus, all guys, for the most part, obviously Starks is a little different. He's learning only point. But for the most part, I like guys to learn at least two positions. I think it makes them valuable, more interchangeable. You can play different lineups. So I think long-term, for sure, LeBron is a guy that is exactly what you just stated there. 3-4-4-3, can play both positions, can take advantage of matchups. Usually in the first year, a la Malcolm Hill, we teach them one position, with a rare exception on that. Every once in a while, we'll teach a guy two. But I think as a first-year guy, those guys are a lot more comfortable, confident, don't feel overwhelmed, don't feel like everything's coming at them. And I think usually most of the time it's better to teach them, one position. Now, Hill, obviously you guys watched us at the end of the year. We started throwing him in a little bit more at the three at the end of the year, and he's getting reps in practice. And usually I don't do that either. But Malcolm's a pretty smart kid. And I sensed, my instincts told me he could handle it. So in practice late in the year, he played it a lot and played it in some games, some spot minutes late in the year. And, I think he's going to be a guy that clearly is going to play and learn two positions heading into next year, versus the one that he played predominantly this past year, which was really a guard in a four-guard lineup. So he's going to give us some versatility, and I think LeBron can be that down the road as well. How quickly he picks up things, Marcus, will oftentimes determine how quickly we give him more.
You had Nana at the 5. If Nana got out, you brought in Maverick. If you needed to go deeper than that, Austin would come in some occasions. What about next year?
Darius.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, he's I don't know what his weight is right now, but he's gained, what did he weigh this week? I should know that. I just looked at it. I can't remember the exact weight, but he's gained 29 pounds since he's come here. And a lot of it's muscle. I mean, you guys see his body sometimes when he's walking around. I mean, Mike's done a great job with him. You know, I think he can play either position. We talked about multi-positional with Marcus when it came to 3-4-4-3. I think he's multi-positional as well. And usually with a transfer, if it's a first-year guy like Darius and Kaz, those guys learn 2 positions. Now, they ding some stuff up at the beginning, but I don't care as much about it. I don't say I don't care. I do, but they're not playing. So if they don't have everything cold, they're not playing in the game, so we can work with them through it. By the time the end of the transfer year finishes, those guys know 2 positions, which is really helpful when they become eligible to play. You know, in Kaz's case, I mean, he really played 1, 2, and 3 in practice, but knows 2 and 3. And in Darius's case, he played 4 and 5 in practice.
Put Austin in a more comfortable position.
Potentially, yeah. He learned both. You know, there's a great example. He learned both this year, or tried to learn both at times, and then I pulled it off at the very end. Probably unfair to him, you know, but we kind of needed that. And, you know, the versatility of those guys, I think, is going to be huge for us. Even Nana learned 4, partly because he was in the second year with us, partly because he's really, really smart, and partly because we always thought, what if we wanted to have the option to play big ball? Let's say like Nana and Mav. And Mav was learning 5, and we wanted to be big. You know, we always that's what I'm saying. The more positions these guys know, we want them to know at least 2. I think it gives us options, Tup.
Because we remember last year you guys were a 7 seed in the tournament. We just watched a 7 seed win the tournament. Did you get a chance to appreciate the parity of the game the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, obviously I had a chance to watch a little bit here and there. You know, the springtime is probably the busiest time in college basketball. It's really, you know, for a lot of different reasons, a lot going on. I watched some of the games. I didn't get, you know, the only one I really watched start to finish is my wife and I went to the Wisconsin-Kentucky game, you know, over the weekend, and we watched that one. But, you know, really other than that, not a ton. But I think it does. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it speaks of the parity for sure when you have a 7 and an 8 seed. I also think, you know, it shows the beauty of March. I mean, you know, the team that won it got beat by 33 in a game late in March. You know, the team that won it had not won a game in Texas, and then they win the 2 most important ones in Texas. You know, the other team was being ridiculed, you know, for part of the year. And then they kept hanging in there, and those young kids fought and became pretty good at the end of the year. So I think a lot of times when it's late in March, it's who's hot. That's where everybody loves a tournament. You know, I always tell our players, anybody can beat anyone on a given night. Now, people don't like to hear that because they try to, how could that? But this is basketball, and it's a one-game deal. It's not the NBA playoffs best-of-7 series. You know, so I think that's what makes March, and I think you saw some of that as well. Some of it's about matchups. You know, but obviously both those teams played really well late. You know, to get to that point, you got to play really well. You got to beat some really good basketball teams, and you know, obviously the teams that play the best. I always tell those guys that whoever plays better tonight in a lot of those games, because there is so much parity, is going to have a chance to advance.
The game last night.
I did catch it a little bit. Yeah, my neighbor's over, so we just kind of hung out a little bit, and I hadn't seen Connor and Cam a whole lot here lately, so. Connor had his own NCAA tournament bracket posted on the door and was telling me who was winning and, you know, shooting hoops. He's got it set up in my kitchen/living room there, and Allison's trying to get him to quit because Camden's trying to sleep, and which he always wins that battle.
I know you weren't here at the time, but as you're watching that game and seeing, I guess, Ryan Boatwright played a pretty big role.
Yeah, good player.
To see a player from this state,
yeah,
team win a national championship, I wonder what you think as you watch.
Yeah, I mean, I thought their guards were great. I did see a little bit of, I didn't watch the entire Connecticut-Florida game, but I saw some of it, the first half there, and, you know, watched a little bit of last night. I mean, their guards put a lot of pressure on you defensively. They're good at the offensive end. I mean, those guys are talented. I think, you know, you look at the tournament, obviously it's really important to have good guard play. I think we all know that, to advance in tournaments, and obviously those 2 guards were, Napier and Boatwright were terrific.
I'm not sure if anybody's on the phone line. Is anybody on there for Coach Groce? Guess not. Anything else to
What
wrap it
about
up?
your early season schedule next year, since you guys are going to be road warriors again? That's pretty unique? I mean, is that a challenge? You kind of
The
start preparing?
this upcoming year?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't completed it yet, and obviously we'll have exhibition game and some different things. We'll see how the progress of the building takes place moving forward. But we're planning on it not being that outside of the norm. Now the following year is when it'll be outside the norm. 15, 16, a little bit. We anticipate and are very well aware that potentially we won't be in our building during the month of November of 15. But we're flexible. I mean, it is what it is. Someone asked me, hey, would you have liked to have been at home during the NIT? All 4 teams that made it to Madison Square Garden played all 3 home games. And I mean, yeah, but that's, we talk all the time about controlling the controllables. And, our guys were, convinced that we were good enough to do something that I don't think a team's ever won the NIT, winning 3 road games and 2 games in New York. It never happened in the history of the tournament. But our guys, we're a little wacky over at Ubben. We like to think big things, and our guys felt like we could do it. We were good enough to do it. We just got beat in the Clemson game there by 1 point and didn't shoot it real well on that night. But you can't control that. So whatever they give us in terms of a calendar of when we can play in there and when we can't, we'll adjust accordingly. I'm fully aware that long term the purpose and reason for doing that is going to end up being something really, really, really special, really neat. So we're looking forward to its completion.
One more. I don't know if we'll see you over at Krannert, but how big of a deal is the rebranding thing as you take that out?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, we'll definitely be over there. We have I believe the 16th is that right, Kent? The rebranding with Nike, and then the 17th, I think we have the same launch in Chicago with the rebrand. It's huge. I'm excited. Obviously, I've seen some of it. I think it's really, really neat. Obviously, we love our relationship with Nike. They are a global power. We feel blessed to have an association with them. I had an opportunity, at the Final Four to be at some of the Nike things, and had a chance to, see Mr. Knight and see some of the people that have worked on our uniforms and on the rebranding, and they're really excited. And I think it's really cutting edge. I think our fans will like it. I think our kids will like it. I think recruits will love it. So we're excited about it taking place next week.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
Thanks, guys.